Welcome to the FabSuite Production Control video training series. This is the first of 3 videos in which we will take an in-depth look at the functionality of FabSuite's Production Control module. This first video will cover maintenance and data entry. Let's get started. We'll begin by opening the program. Simply double-click the FabSuite icon on your desktop. Alternately, you may go to the Start menu, select All Programs, select FabSuite LLC, and then click on FabSuite. The login screen will then appear. Type in your username and password. If you do not yet have your username and password, type admin in the username field and fab as the password. Click OK, and you are now logged in. The Production Control module, simply put, is where you capture your job data or the bill of materials that accompanies each fabrication drawing. Once that data is captured, this is where FabSuite processes that data for combining and cutting materials, as well as shipping material. In addition, from Production Control, you can also load materials into requisitions to get quotes from suppliers. In this video training series, we will be going through each step of a typical job process. Before we go any further, however, let's cover some basic information that you need in the system before beginning any production control job. From the Maintenance drop-down menu, select Production Control, and then select Company Standards. This opens the Company Standards window. These are settings that remain consistent from job to job. Entering information here saves time later, as information established here is automatically entered for you when you add a new job. These are merely default settings that can be modified as needed when entering a new job. You may specify imperial or metric for shape, sizes, and lengths. Length input and type has to do with how you input your data for the length of the piece. Clicking on the drop-down list allows you to select feet, inches and 1/16 of an inch, feet and inches and 1/16, decimal feet, decimal inches to 2 places, decimal inches, or free-form feet, inches, and 1/16. The free-form option has only one length field in which you enter feet and inches. This is a very forgiving field and allows input in a variety of ways. You could, for example, enter a 1 foot and 2.5 inch length as 1 foot, 2, 1/2, or 1 foot, 2.5, or even 14.5. The most common format, however, is feet, inches, 1/16. So we'll select that option. The weight and price input and display fields also gives you the option to choose imperial or metric. The main mark input type should be set for how the data comes to you from an import or how you will be inputting the data. Any input allows any type of entry to be used as the mark. If you wish to require that the mark begin with a letter followed by a number, you would choose the character number option. There are 12 different options, some of which include a sort order. We'll leave our default as any input. The piece mark input type is similar to the main mark, but is for the accessories pieces that go with a main shipping piece. You can select from 12 different options for these pieces as well. Again, we'll leave our default as any input. The drawing number input type allows you to set the way the drawing numbers are sorted. You can select from the 12 different options that are available for you for main marks and piece marks. We'll leave this as any input as well. The sequence input type allows you to set the way the sequencing numbers are sorted. Sequence refers to any means by which your shop breaks down a large job into smaller components, usually for production and/or shipping considerations, so that you can get portions of the job finished and shipped out first. For example, you may wish to sequence a job by floors or areas. Again, you can select from the 12 different options that are available for main marks and piece marks. We'll leave this as any input too. Placing a check mark in the Use Lot Numbers box enables you to subdivide a sequence or phase within a production control job. Lot numbers are basically subsequences, and if you wish to use them, you must have this box checked before beginning the job. It is one of the job edit fields that cannot be changed in production control after the job has begun. The main piece case control allows you to set the type of case, upper or lower, that you want to use to identify the main pieces so that they are easily distinguishable. Uppercase forces the entry into all uppercase letters even if you type lowercase letters. Likewise, lowercase forces the entry into all lowercase letters even if you type uppercase letters. Uppercase lowercase allows you to enter both upper and lowercase letters. We'll leave these set to uppercase. The accessory piece case control functions in the same way as the main piece case, but obviously applies to accessory pieces. We'll leave this set to lowercase. When a checkmark is placed in the Piece Mark Force Same Info box, a piece mark named A1, for example, will keep its size and length throughout the job, no matter which main material it is associated with. This is the default setting because it allows you to simply enter the piece mark name and the quantity, without having to describe the shape and size. If this box is not checked, then every piece mark is unique within the main mark. For example, piece mark A1 could be a 4x4 by 1/4 by 2 foot 3 inch angle. For main mark 12B, and piece mark A1 could also be a 1/4 by 5 by 1 foot 6 plate for main mark 12C. We'll leave the box checked. The default finish option allows you to select painted, unpainted, or galvanized as the default for new jobs that are entered into production control. If most of your jobs are painted, you would select that as your default setting. Then if you came across a job or an individual piece that does not require paint, you can change that job or piece inside the production control job. We'll set the default to painted. A checkmark in the AutoCalc drawing number box will have FabSuite automatically enter the drawing number into the drawing number field based on the main mark. For example, if you enter a main piece of 1B2 and this box is checked, the program will automatically pull in 1 as the drawing number. This feature only works correctly if the first number or character of each main piece represents the drawing number. This means that formats such as 1B2 and A1 will work, which covers most standard marking systems. If the marking system you use does not number piece marks with the drawing number first, then you should leave this box unchecked. We will leave the checkmark in. The next group of fields allows you to select a default supplier from the drop-down list for angles, beams, plates, rods, tubes, and other material. These fields let you pull materials from different sources. For example, you may get your wide flange material from one supplier and angles from another. There is no limit to the number of different suppliers and pricing databases that you can set up within FabSuite. Setting these up was covered in our first training video on general setup and maintenance. These fields are also used when doing combining runs within production control. We'll leave all of them set to warehouse. The truck capacity field is where you set the default capacity of your trucks in pounds that will be shipping fabricated material to the job site. We'll set this to 42,000 pounds. The Keep Job Selection Screen Open option allows you to keep that window open after selecting a job from the list. If this is not checked, the window will close after opening a job. At the bottom of the window, you'll notice buttons for categories and subcategories. These are user-defined fields for sorting, tracking, and reporting. Typical categories are beams, columns, and drawing numbers. They could also be floors or sequences. The subcategory field functions similarly. These fields can be very beneficial when global changes need to be made. More detail will be covered on this a little later. Clicking on the Pay Categories button displays the Pay Categories window. This window allows you to set the pricing schedule to be used for a job. It is designed to aid in billing for unit cost jobs. We won't be using this function in this training video, but it will be covered in the third production control video. Click the Save button or hit F4 on your keyboard to save those settings. All right, let's go ahead and open the production control module. You can either click on the button or hit F5 on your keyboard. This brings up the Select Production Control job window. You'll notice that we have included a test job with your installation so that you can get comfortable using FabSuite in a test environment before beginning one of your own jobs. To open a job, simply double-click it. Or with the job highlighted, click the Open button at the bottom of the window or hit F5. The Production Control job window will appear, displaying the details for the selected job. The category tree appears on the left side of the window. The items shown in the tree can be expanded and collapsed by using the plus and minus signs to the left of each item. If a plus sign is shown, clicking on it opens the level to additional sublevels. If a minus sign is shown, clicking on it hides the sublevels from view. There are two trees, one for the drawings and shapes in the job, and another for the sequences and trucks. By using the category tree, you can choose which items are displayed in the item list in the center of the window. Clicking on the 1, for example, will display those items on drawing 1. If you wanted to see only those items with a main mark of 1A, click on 1A, and the display area will change accordingly. At the top right of the production control window is a summary grid. This is a working calculator, if you will, that shows cumulative information for all of the items in the job. The item column gives you the quantity, length, square feet, weight, and surface area of the item that you have highlighted in the display area. The selected column gives you the same summary information for any group of items that are highlighted in the display area. The displayed column summarizes all items that are present in the display area, even if they are not selected. There are also two columns for assembly summary information and a total column providing you summary information for the entire job. Note also that when an item is highlighted in the display area, additional information pertaining to the item is shown in the input fields on the right side of the window. We will get into editing this information later in this video. Just as you can view information by drawing number, so can you view data by shapes. If, for example, you wanted to see the data just on wide flange shapes, click on the W in the category tree. The summary grid now shows that we have a total weight for wide flange beams of 3,086 pounds. If you want to see just a particular size, expand the Dimensions subcategory by clicking on the plus sign. Selecting the 8 by 31 shape will display just those sizes and provide calculated information in the summary grid. So, in this sample job, the total weight of our 8 by 31s is 965 pounds, while the total weight of the 12 by 72s is 2,121 pounds. Adding those two together gives you the 3,086 pounds that is displayed when clicking on the W in the category tree. Notice also, just above the Sample 1 test job title, that there are two Find buttons. Clicking on the Find Shape, Grade, Size button, or hitting the Shift and F5 keys, will bring up a Find window. To find materials with a specific shape, without regard to grade or size, select the shape from the drop-down menu or type in the desired shape. Let's enter C and click the Find Shape button. All channel shapes will now be shown in the display area. To find materials with a specific shape and grade, without regard to size, select or enter a shape, select or enter a grade, and click the Find Grade button. This will display only those shapes with that grade. To find materials with a specific shape, grade, and size, select or enter the shape, select or enter the grade, and select or enter the dimensions. Let's enter PL for plate, select grade A36, and select the size of 1/2 by 3 3/4. Clicking on the Find Size button will then display only those plates with the specified dimensions. You can also find an item by clicking on the Find Item button above the Sample 1 test job title, or hitting the Control and F5 keys simultaneously. This will produce a pop-up window allowing you to enter a main and/or piece mark. Let's enter 1A for the main mark and P8 as the piece mark. Click the Find button and the item will be highlighted in the display area. You can sort items displayed in the item list by clicking on any of the column headers. For example, to sort items by the amount used in the job, click on the Quantity header. The items will be resorted in the list in ascending order. Clicking the header again will put the list in descending order. Each click on any header toggles between ascending and descending order. Next, we are going to add a brand new production control job. Let's close out of our sample job and click on the Production Control tab. This brings up the Production Control job window again. To add a new job, click the Add button at the bottom of the window or hit F1 on your keyboard. This brings up the Production Control Job Edit window. The Job and Shipping Dates field default to the current date. They can be changed by selecting the date from the drop-down list or typing one directly into the fields. All fields in this window are optional, except the job number. This is the label that will be used to identify the job within FabSuite. It can be any combination of numbers or letters. We'll enter a job number of 123. The job description field is the name of your job. We'll call this FabSuite Test Job. The location is typically the job site to which steel will be shipped. We'll enter Williamsburg, Virginia. If you want to put jobs into groups so that they are easier to locate in the Select Production Control job window, type in a name for the group. Once you create a job group, it will be available for future jobs in the drop-down list. The most common job groups are by year and by customer, but they can be anything that works for you. It is merely a way to locate jobs and manage the groups as your list of jobs grows larger. You may also further define a group by creating and placing jobs in a subgroup of your choosing. Examples of subgroups include Project Manager and Job Type. Next, we come to the Sold To field. By now, you should have your address book set up within FabSuite. This was covered in the very first video training on general setup and maintenance. Briefly, this is done by selecting Address Book from the Maintenance drop-down menu. Contacts can be imported or entered manually. All right, let's get back to our Production Control Job Edit window. If your client exists within your FabSuite address book, their name will appear in the Sold To drop-down list. If they are not yet in the address book, you can type in all the information beginning with the name field and enter them in the address book at a later time. In order to use the Sold To field, however, the contact must already be in your address book. Let's select XYZ Construction for both the Sold To and Shipped To fields, and change the shipping address to the job site. We'll enter 2222 Main Street as the Shipped To and Billed To addresses, and leave everything else the same. The comment field can be used for any purpose such as applicable references or remarks. We'll enter New School Addition behind Gym. This is true for the shipping comment field as well. We'll enter Corner of Main and Elm. Any comments you enter in the shipping comment field will appear on the shipping ticket, as we will show later. The next series of fields will show the defaults that we set up in the company standards. As we said before, any of the defaults can be changed if this job has different requirements. The fields that are not grayed out can be changed here. Any changes that are made in this window will only affect this job. Any new job that is added later will still show the defaults as they are set up in company standards. The fields that relate to main marks, piece marks, drawing numbers, lots, and sequencing are grayed out and cannot be changed once the job begins. We'll leave all our defaults as is. Let's go ahead and click Save or hit F4. You will get a pop-up window asking if you want to create a project management job with the same job number. Clicking Yes here saves you the step of going into the project management module to create it. Now, when you open the project management module, you will see Job 123 in the list of jobs. To get back into the Production Control Job Edit screen, simply highlight the job in the Select Production Control window and click the Edit button or hit F4 on your keyboard. Let's talk about the Combining Optimizations function before moving on to inputting data. Clicking on the Combining Optimizations button at the bottom of the window brings up the Combining Maintenance window. This window is job-specific and enables you to choose the optimization methods used on this job. Several default optimizations are displayed. Options listed in the Not Included side are not used in the current job's optimization process. Those listed in the Included side are used. An option can be moved from one field to another by selecting it and clicking either the right or left pointing arrow. In addition, options in the Included side can be repositioned in the list using the Move Up and Move Down buttons. The Inventory Exact Match in Stock option is recommended for nuts, bolts, washers, and other items that have no lengths. Also, when cutting is not required, this option matches exact plate and beam sizes available within your existing inventory. The Inventory Exact Match on Order option is the same as the In Stock option just mentioned, with the exception that this option matches exact plate and beam sizes on order. The Inventory Least Scrap in Stock option combines plates and beams from your inventory, generating the least amount of scrap possible. The Inventory Least Scrap on Order option combines plates and beams currently on order, generating the least amount of scrap possible. The Warehouse Least Scrap option combines plates and beams from the available material in the molting and nesting databases, generating the least amount of scrap possible. Finally, the Warehouse Force Inventory option gives preference to material in inventory, even if it generates more scrap than the warehouse lengths. At the top of the Combining Maintenance window, you will see a checkbox labeled Rotate Plates for Best Fit. Checking this box allows plates to be rotated to achieve the best use of material. If a piece requires bending, or if grain pattern is important, or if you are working with checkered plate or grading, you may not wish to allow rotation. If you wish to combine only within a sequence, put a check mark in that box. Below this option is one for nesting shear cut. This drop-down list gives you options for the shear cut method used for nesting. Options are None, First cut along length, and First cut along width. Click OK or hit F4 on your keyboard to save the changes made in the Combining Maintenance window. Let's go ahead and click the Save button again to commit these changes. Let's open our job now and take a look at the job screen. As we have covered before, the display area is in the center of the window, and the input fields are over on the right. Both the display fields and the input fields are fully customizable. Let's edit our input fields first. From the Maintenance drop-down menu, select Production Control, and then select Edit Input Fields. Click the Edit Types button. What appears now is a list of input fields on the left in the Not Included side, as well as a list of fields on the right in the Included side. This allows you to control not only what fields are included, but also the order in which they appear. You can also change the name of the input fields. You can change the input order by highlighting the desired field and clicking on either the Move Up or Move Down button. Let's highlight the Remarks field and click on the Move Up button and move it above the reference number field. Any field marked with an asterisk is a required field and cannot be removed. Let's say that we don't need the category, subcategory, and pay fields. We'll highlight them and click the left pointing arrow to move them to the Not Included side. When a field is marked to carry over, the data in that field will remain when continuing on to the next piece. If you want that field to be blank when inputting the next piece, set the Carry Over option to No by highlighting the item in the Included side and clicking the Do Not Carry Over bar. The Skip Field option allows you to leave a field visible in the input area, but skips over it when using the Tab or Enter keys to advance through the input fields. Note also at the bottom of the Input Fields window that you can change the font size as well as the input area width and the navigation tree width. If you place a checkmark in the Use Main Piece multiplier when you create a main piece and subsequent subpieces, a multiplier will be applied when inputting additional pieces with the same main mark. We'll save our changes by clicking on the Save button or hitting F4 and close the window. You'll notice that these changes have not yet taken place in our Production Control job window. In order for the changes to be reflected, you must close out this window and reopen the job. Now when we return, the fields we removed are no longer there, and the Remarks field is now above the reference number. Just as the input fields can be edited, so it goes with the display fields. From the Maintenance drop-down menu, select Production Control, and this time select Edit Display Fields. Again, we'll click on the Edit Types button, and this will bring up a list of all items in the Not Included side, as well as a list of items in the included side. Let's move Finish, Trucks, and Grade over to the included side. Grade appears at the bottom of the list. So let's move it up by clicking on the Move Up button until it is just under length. The number that appears in the Sort column dictates the order in which that field will be sorted relevant to the other fields. This can be changed by highlighting the field and clicking on either the Increase Sort Order or Decrease Sort Order buttons. We'll leave the sort order as it is currently defaulted. You also have the ability in this window to change the display name of the field as well as the width of the displayed field. In addition, here is where you can change the alignment of any of the display columns to be left, center, or right justified. Finally, when a check mark is placed in the Highlight Input of Clicked Cell box at the bottom of the Display Fields window, if you click in a cell on the display window, the corresponding cell in the input field will be highlighted. This is a personal preference setting and one that you will need to try both ways to see which works best for you. Let's save our changes and close this window. We'll leave the check mark in and explain the reasoning for this when we edit data in the production control job. Again, we'll have to close out this window and reopen the job to see the changes reflected in the display area. We now have the 3 additional fields displayed. These input and display settings can be saved by user. Going back into the Edit Display Fields window, you can add a new display type by clicking on the New button in the lower left corner of the Production Control Display Fields window. In the Description field, we'll enter Barney. The description, by the way, can be a username or the name of a department, perhaps. Maybe Barney doesn't care about the grade, but wants to see the root displayed. Let's remove Grade and add Root. Let's make the Root column a little narrower. We'll set it to 50 pixels wide. Make it center justified, and click the Update button on the right to commit those changes. Then we'll click Save or hit F4, and these settings will be saved for Barney. We'll close this window out, and before closing the Production Control Display Fields window, we'll select Barney from the drop-down menu and then click Save. Now, when we come back into the job, we will see Barney's display screen. To go back to the default screen, or any other user you have set up, go to the Maintenance drop-down menu, select Production Control, select Edit Display Fields, select the desired username from the drop-down list in the Production Control Display Fields window, and click Save. The next time you reopen the job, this is the user's display screen that will appear. The input fields can be customized in the same way. There is no limit to the number of profiles that you can establish for either input or display. Also, once these configurations are set up and given a name, they are not just specific to a user login. All users will have access to the configurations, allowing you to share display and input setups. All right, let's input some data manually now. In this example, we are going to assume that we are entering data from a handwritten shop bill. To begin entering data, click the New button at the bottom of the window, or hit the F1 key. This puts the program into data entry mode. Now, when you are in data entry mode in FabSuite, to move between fields, you may either hit the Tab key or the Enter key, depending on your preference. To move back one field, hit the Shift and Tab keys simultaneously, or you can hit Dot and Enter. To select from drop-down lists, you can use the up and down arrows on your keyboard. To enter a check mark in a field containing a box, you can hit the space bar. These methods can speed up your input process tremendously by avoiding the necessity of using your mouse. Be aware that FabSuite will remain in Add mode until you click somewhere in the display area. Once you do that, you will be in Edit mode until you click the Add button once again. The first field that the cursor goes into is the Status field. This field allows you to track the status of items based on the engineer's approval of the drawing. This option is not a mandatory field, but is useful as a job filter on reports. For instance, you can restrict pieces on hold or not approved from being put into the shop on a cutting list. When a main piece is approved, its accessory pieces are assumed to be approved also. This is a fully customizable list. The default codes in the drop-down list are A for approved, H for hold, N for not approved, and P for approved as noted. You will see that there is also one called OFA, out for approval. This was a code that we set up in the second project management training video. To add or edit a code, go to the Maintenance drop-down menu, select Production Control, and then select Approval Status Maintenance. This will bring up the Approval Status Maintenance window. You can either edit a status by clicking on the Edit button, or add a new status by clicking on the New button. The main mark shows the piece mark of the main item in fabrication. The main item must always be entered before its accessory items. On the first occurrence of a main mark, FabSuite duplicates the mark in the Piece Mark field, indicating that this is the main piece. Let's enter 1C1 as the main mark. We'll enter a drawing number of 1 and a quantity of 3. In the Shape field, you can either type the code for the shape or choose it from the drop-down menu. We'll enter C for channel. Notice that the shape description appears next to the field once the shape is selected. Hitting the Tab or Enter key will take you to the Dimensions field, in which a shape box pops up. We'll enter 12 as the depth and 20.7 as the weight. Let's say the length is 18 foot 5 5/8. So we'll enter 18 in the first box for feet, 5 in the second box for inches, and 10 in the third box because that is in 1/16 of an inch. We'll keep the default grade of A36 and the default finish of painted. We will be discussing the root field in our next production control video when we cover piece tracking. The remarks field allows you to enter any additional comments you may need. The reference field will automatically be populated when the item is combined and reserved, as we will show in the next training video. This is all the information we need to input for this item for now. You can either tab or enter through the remaining fields until the Add button at the bottom of the window is highlighted, and then hit Enter. Or you may simply hit the F4 key in any input field once you are finished. You will hear an audible tone and see the item in the display window. Note also that FabSuite has started calculating, and the results are shown in the summary grid at the top. Let's add an accessory piece next. Now, we are still in data entry mode, so the main mark field is highlighted. We'll tab or enter through that, and enter PA1 in the piece mark field. Note that even though we typed this in uppercase, the display shows the mark in lowercase letters. This is because we set up in our company standards to have piece marks in lowercase letters. We'll enter a quantity of 3 and enter flat bar as the shape. In the dimensions field, we'll enter 1/4 by 4 and a length of 1 foot 8 1/2. Notice that in the dimension field, it displays flat bar as FL 1/4 by 4, even though we entered FB as the shape. This is because we created a new FL shape in our database and associated that shape with both the FL and FB abbreviations. This was covered in the first video training on general setup and maintenance. We'll leave the grade at A36 and hit F4 to save this accessory. Let's quickly add one more piece with a main mark of 2B1. Drawing number 2, quantity of 4, wide flange shape with dimensions of 10 by 12, length of 12 foot 5 1/2, and a grade of A572-50. Notice that all the grades associated with this shape appear in the grade drop-down list. We'll hit the F4 key, and this entry is now added to the display area. Let's add a piece mark of AA2, quantity of 4 angles that are 4 by 3 1/2 by 5/16, and a length of 0 foot 8 1/2. F4 to add, and we now have 4 entries in the display area. Just as we showed you with the sample job, you can use the category tree on the left to display items by drawing 1 or 2 only. Notice when you click on a main mark piece that a sequence window appears in the lower right corner of the production control job window. It does not appear when you click on accessory pieces. FabSuite only sequences by the main mark. To assign a sequence, click on the main piece cell in the display area, making sure that the main mark field is highlighted as well. This will happen automatically if you left the check mark in the Highlight Input of Clicked Cell box in the Edit Display Fields window. Let's select 1C1 and click the Edit Sequence button or hit F6 on your keyboard. Let's place this item in Sequence 1, Lot 1, and enter a quantity of 2 pieces. Click the Sequence button, and the results are shown in the display area. Let's put the other 1C1 main piece in Sequence 2, Lot 2. Notice that the quantity field defaulted to 1, as there is only 1 piece left with this main mark. Clicking the Sequence button will add this information to the display area. Click the Edit button in the Production Control window, or hit F4. Now, when you expand Sequence in the category tree at the bottom of the window, you will see that we now have Sequence 1 and Sequence 2 below it. Expanding Lots will also show that we now have Lots 1 and 2 as well. Notice that there is a line under Sequence that does not have a number next to it. This indicates that some of the material in this job has not yet been sequenced. Clicking next to the line will produce a list of that material in the display area. Let's put 2 of the 10 by 12s in Sequence 1, 1 in Sequence 2, and another 1 in Sequence 3. Click the Edit button to commit the changes, and you will now see that all material has been put into either Sequence 1, 2, or 3. Another feature that you will find handy when manually inputting data is the Copy feature. Let's highlight the first line item with the main mark of 1C1. Click the Copy button at the bottom of the window, or hit F3 on your keyboard. This brings up the Copy window. Let's enter a new main mark of 3C1. If you wish to copy the accessory pieces as well, leave a check mark in the Copy Accessory Items box. Click the Copy button, and you will see the 2 new line items in the display area. Let's also copy main mark 2B1 and call it 4C1. Let's put this on Drawing 4 and go back and change main mark 3C1 to be on Drawing 3. For some jobs, you may want to save time by copying and modifying the shop drawing rather than entering the shop drawing from scratch. To copy a shop drawing for the current job, click on the drawing number in the category tree. Let's select Drawing 1. From the Production Control drop-down menu, select Copy Drawing. The Copy Drawing window appears. Enter the new drawing number and click OK. A second Copy Drawing window will appear, showing the old mark and the new mark. The new mark will default to a number consistent with the marking system you have previously entered. If you wish to change the new mark, enter it in the New Mark field and hit the Copy button at the bottom of the window. The original drawing will be copied with the new marks and will be shown in the category tree. Notice that the sequence for this drawing was also copied from Drawing 1. To edit the sequence, with Drawing 4 selected in the category tree, click the Edit Sequences button or hit F6 on your keyboard. Click the Unsequence button in the lower left corner of the sequence window twice to unsequence both line items. Let's put these items in sequence 3 and click the Sequence button to add them. Close out of the sequence window and click the Edit button or hit F4 to commit your changes. We have now placed the items in Drawing 4 into sequence 3. Note that if you hit the Unsequence All button in the sequence window, this will unsequence all items in the job. Once data has been entered into the job, you may find the need to go back and edit something. This is another example of the benefit of having a checkmark in the Highlight Input of Clicked Cell box in the Edit Display Fields window. When this box is checked, if you click on a cell in the display area of the Production Control window, the corresponding field over in the Input fields will be highlighted as well, and thus be ready for editing if necessary. If that box is not checked, you can still edit any of the input fields by first highlighting the desired item in the display window, and then clicking in the input field you wish to edit. We have this option set, so when we click on the 4 by 3 1/2 by 5/16 cell in the display area, we can quickly edit it in the input field. Let's change the dimension to 4 by 3 by 5/16. It's a much quicker way than starting at the top and entering through all the fields. Now, if you wish to move back to a previous field, you may do so by holding the Shift and Tab keys simultaneously. This moves the cursor in reverse order. All right, we've covered manually inputting data into Production Control and editing that data. The most common way to bring data into Production Control, however, is by importing it from a file. To use the import function, all job windows must be closed. Go to the File drop-down menu and select Import. The import window will appear. Scrolling down the list, you will see a group of Production Control file types that can be imported. These include BIF, Excel, SSC, KISS, and CIS2 files. When CIS2 files are imported into FabSuite, it also brings the 3D model in as well. Notice when we click on the KISS and CIS2 file types, a supplemental import window opens up as well, allowing you to bring in additional files associated with the job. Let's begin by selecting a KISS file to import. We'll click on the Browse button and locate the file we wish to import. Sample files were provided to you with your installation and can be found in the FabSuite LLC /FabSuite/backup folder. The file name is pdcsample1.kss. We'll select that file and click Open. You will see the file path displayed. Click the Import button and the Production Control Job Edit window will appear. The job number and job name fields will be populated from the file name FabSuite imported. Let's change the job number to 1234 and click Save. Keep in mind that once the job number is established here, it cannot be changed. If you typed it incorrectly and hit Save, your only remedy will be to delete the job, re-import it, and assign the correct job number. Now, when we go into Production Control and open Job 1234, you will see that a total of 163 items have been imported. Next, let's import a CIS2 file. We'll close out of Production Control, go to the File drop-down menu, and select Import. This time, we'll choose Production Control CIS2 from the list. We'll browse to the same directory as before and locate the CIS2 sample file that came with your installation. The file name is cis2 sample.stp. We'll select that and click Open, and then click the Import button. We'll leave the job name as cis2 sample and click Save. Now, in this file, there's no drawing number associated with a main mark called J12. A pop-up window appears giving you 4 different options. The Use the main mark as the drawing number would apply to just this one piece. Selecting Use the main mark as the drawing number All would apply to all instances with this condition. The Extract drawing number from main mark would assign a drawing number of 12 for just this piece, since that is the only number in the piece mark. The last option, to Extract drawing number from main mark All, would assign drawing numbers based on the number in the piece mark for all similar conditions. For now, we'll use the main mark for the drawing number for all conditions. The next screen that appears will alert you to shapes that do not have a proper translation. There are blank fields in this file that need to be associated with something. We'll enter CO for comment and click the Set Shape button. Another example would be if we had not associated flat bar with both the FL and FB abbreviations. In this file, flat bar comes over as FL. If we had not previously associated this abbreviation, you could do so in this window. We'll click OK, and notice that we get another warning message. This window is telling us that the accessory piece J12 has no corresponding main piece. We'll select the option to add a comment line for the main piece in all conditions. When the import is complete, the screen will display the number of items that were successfully imported, as well as the number, if any, that were not successful. If you wish to view the log file, click the Open Import Log button. You can print or export it to retain the information for future references. If there were any discrepancies, such as a carryover mark that didn't match between 2 main marks on different sheets, The program would identify them and report them in this log file. Any potential problems with the data should be caught by the program and reported here. If you neglect to keep a copy of the import log and need it later, FabSuite does generate a log file during the import process and saves it automatically to the default log directory specified in your default directory setup. It never gets deleted and can be retrieved later, but can sometimes be difficult to locate. So you might prefer to export the file at the time of the import. Let's close out of this window and take a look at the CIS2 production control job. You can see that we have quite a few more drawings in this sample job. Expanding Drawing 100 in the category tree, you will note that there are multiple main piece marks. If you want to see just 100B7, click on that, and the display area will be adjusted accordingly. As was mentioned before, all the columns in the display field can be sorted by clicking on any one of the headers. To sort by grade, simply click on the grade header and the items will be displayed in ascending order first. There are several items that do not have a grade, and those appear at the top of the list. Clicking the header again will place the items in descending order. Notice that there are several lines of bolts with a grade of A325N. If you needed to change the grade of those bolts, you could certainly do that one at a time. But we have a much quicker way in FabSuite. Using our Global Edit function, you can edit several items at one time. There are 4 different levels of global editing available by selecting Global Edit from the Production Control drop-down menu. You can perform a global edit to all items in the job using the Global Edit menu, perform a global edit to all items in the job with a particular shape using the Global Edit by Shape menu, perform a global edit to just particular items you have selected using the Global Edit Selected menu, or perform a global edit just to particular items you have selected based on shape using the Global Edit Selected by Shape menu. Let's demonstrate this last option by highlighting all of the grade A325N bolts. From the Production Control drop-down menu, select Global Edit, and then select Global Edit Selected by Shape. This brings up the Global Edit Filter window. Select OK or hit F4 on your keyboard. In the Global Edit window, place a check mark in the box next to Grade and select A325 from the drop-down list. Click OK, and you will see the list scroll as all the grade fields are updated for the selected bolts. When we return to the Production Control job window, you will see that they have been changed to grade A325. The only fields which cannot be updated with a global edit are drawing number, main mark, and piece mark. If you want to create a backup of a job, it can be exported to a KISS file. This is a simple process that is done by going to the Production Control drop-down menu and selecting Export to KISS. A Save As window will open. By default, The name of the file will be PDC, followed by the job name, and then a date and timestamp. Unless you change the file location, it will save the file to the default export file you specified when setting up your default directories. This was covered in the first video training. We'll click Save. When the export is complete, a window will confirm the file location into which it was saved. Just that quickly, we've made a backup of our job. To import a backup copy back into FabSuite, simply follow the import procedure we did earlier and specify the backup file location and click on the Import button. We have now covered setting up your company standards, job setup and maintenance, and data entry, as well as editing, importing, and exporting. We hope that you will continue with the next video in the Production Control series, in which we will cover basic combining runs, reports, load tracking, and piece tracking.